Today I'd like to talk about one of my favorite succulents, an Aeonium kiwi. This is one we're looking at right here. You can see the plant is pretty large. It has a whole lot of rosettes. It's sort of leggy, which is the term you hear people say when they have lots of stems visible and it isn't just nice rosettes. And you can see this Aeonium is a little bit thirsty because a little bit under stress because of the amount of sun it's gotten and the amount of water it's had access to. And the way we can tell that is from the red tips on these leaves and the rosettes. One of the things I wanted to show here today is how Aeoniums can look different when they've been exposed to different conditions. So this Aeonium actually looks quite different from this other Aeonium. It's also an Aeonium kiwi, and as you can see, it has quite a different look to it. This one on the right has been a lot thirstier, and you can tell that in addition to the obvious color differences, that the shape of the rosettes is actually quite different as well. On the left here, we've got this guy. He looks almost like a palm tree, and this one's all sort of closed up and looks a little bit crispier. And so they really have quite a different appearance. Something else to keep in mind when you're trying to identify an Aeonium kiwi is that sometimes they can have quite a different shape entirely depending on the age of the plant. So obviously both of these plants have sort of long stems, but when you see a younger one, like this guy, you'll notice obviously he doesn't have a long stem because he's pretty young, but he really has sort of quite a different shape than either of these two. You can tell he's very colorful, and that is an indicator to me that that this guy has been stressed as well. He's had more sun and less exposure to water, like much more like this guy than like this guy over here. But the interesting thing about this shape is that you can see there are these smaller rosettes around the base of the plant. We've got one here, we've got this little guy here, we've got another rosette right here. And so that really gives the plant sort of a different shape. But the reason is that these new rosettes are going to eventually, when this plant grows older, form nice branches, well, or not nice branches, depending on your tastes, like this one. So for both of these two plants, when I first got them, there was the primary rosette, which in this case was this guy, and you can see that if we follow the stem down, all of these guys sort of came off of it. And so originally, this plant, all these little side rosettes were rosettes right around the base of the main one, like this little guy. Additionally, I have a fourth Aeonium with me today, and this fourth Aeonium is different than these other three in that he has not been very stressed. He has not. Doesn't need much water, and he's right here, and you can tell because he doesn't have any red on the tips of the leaves. So he has some other minor aesthetic issues, but you'll notice that this is really strikingly different. Let me rotate him around. This is really strikingly different in its appearance from the other plants. But it is in fact the same one, and again you can see at the base sort of an intermediate stage of the stems. All of these side rosettes no doubt used to be quite close to the base, the way they are in this guy. And now they have this sort of intermediate stem structure that's growing. One other thing to note about Aeoniums is sometimes people will see them flower. These rosettes are not flowers, they're leaves. And like other succulents, Aeoniums will have an actual flower that will grow out of the center. I've actually never had an Aeonium flower for me. But one of the interesting things about Aeoniums is that they're monocarpic, which means that for every rosette, it will flower once and then that rosette will die. So I've had people say, you know, oh, I don't know what's wrong with my Aeonium. As soon as it flowers, like that whole rosette dies off, and that's actually just the way they work. It's not a problem. I mean, unless you don't want them to, in which case I guess get another plant. But so each of these will eventually, if they are in ideal conditions, like sprout a flower out of it, and then that whole rosette will die. So that's an interesting thing about all Aeoniums, not just Aeonium kiwis. And you can look up Aeonium sunburst is another very popular one that you'll see in different places. But like all succulents, they look very different under different conditions. So I guess that's it. I hope this video has been helpful.